brothers, good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, wherever the hell you may be. How are you today? Thanks for tuning in. We are obviously here for the weekly Army List show. It is the 11th of July, and today we've got 5 Army lists to check out. So, Jar Miniatures, Lagmeister, Tabletop Chat, good afternoon. Thanks for joining in chat. Nice to see you guys. Kevin, Mike, Mark, good afternoon. Yeah, music is still playing. I will switch it off. I need a nice way to fade music out. I haven't figured out how we do that yet. Cool. Well, thanks for being here, guys. And may as well get straight into it today, I think. We'll talk about the 5 lists that we're looking at today, and it's James Fisher, Jar Miniature, Lucas. I'm just going to call him Lucas, Mikey, and Matty B. So, you know, there's 5 lists for us to look at, and if you're new here or you want to submit a list for the future, what you need to do is head over to the Blood Angels Commander YouTube channel, click on Community, and in the latest community post, regardless of what the contents of the post is, just hit comment here and post your list into the hit comment and post your list into the description or the comment section here, and I'll find it and we'll add it to the queue for reviews. Yeah, we put out a poll yesterday actually trying to find out what people actually favoured in terms of how to get multi-meltas onto the battlefield and for Blood Angels, and it's crazy actually how many people still rate Eradicators. Apparently people still think Eradicators are the best way to field multi-meltas. I mean, they do the best damage if you shoot at a single target and you don't advance. But the 5-inch move I feel like is pretty limited. This isn't Monday like what's in the video description. Oh right, because I moved the stream to Monday, it's now updated and they're all Mondays. Okay, you confused the hell out of me for a minute there, Mark. I was wondering what you were on. I will try and fix that for next week. Anyway, alright, so we always try and look at a couple of members lists, and members sort of get some priority in the queue because we get a lot of submissions actually. I think we have about 10 weeks of submissions up ahead of us at the moment, so quite a lot of people wanting their army lists looked at, and after the stream I try and put all these lists into this video's description. So if you want to go back and look at any of the video descriptions, look at any of the army lists, you can do it that way. Good afternoon, Highland Phoenix. Eradicators are plentiful and easy to get hold of as models follows the Indomitus release. Yeah, I mean, Eradicators are good. There's no saying that they're not good, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, I have 6 of them and I'm not fielding any of them right now. I tried fielding them, but I think I've fallen back into attack bikes. 3 Eradicators and 3 Blade Guard veterans in an Impulsor is a nice way to get them in. You know, that's interesting. Normally I don't really rate repulsors, but maybe that's a situation that's quite good. If you disembark out the Impulsor after it's moved, you don't take any penalty for doing that, right? I have very rarely, if ever, well, do you know what? Never. I have never fielded shooting troops inside an Impulsor. Like I fielded I think I actually fielded assault intercessors and reavers inside Impulsors. I don't know. I was hoping reavers would be better than they are when I did that, but units embarked with this transport can disembark even if it's made a normal move this phase. Any units that disembark after the transport is made a normal move cannot charge. Yeah, so there's no penalty for doing that, I think. You just... yeah, of course, unless you've got heavy weapons. Sure, so... where is it? Assault vehicle. So you can disembark and shoot your Eradicators, and I guess get an extra 10 inches on them. That's interesting, James. That's probably one of the most interesting thoughts or interesting things I've heard about Eradicators. I mean, I hate how transports are so expensive when jump packs are so cheap. But okay, and thanks for being here, James. It's always nice when the people whose lists we're going to look at are in chat. So if there's any ever questions, we can touch base on them. Aren't they oh, you're right, they're Gravis. They can't go in Impulsors. Impulsors cannot transfer Gravis. You're 100% right. Highland Phoenix, thanks for pointing that out. Morning, Jeff. How you doing? And hey, afternoon, Robert. Nice to see you. Okay. A viable delivery method does make the Radicators far more interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess the only viable delivery method is going to be a Repulsor, and I don't think anyone thought the Repulsor was a viable delivery method because, well, it doesn't have the assault vehicle for one, and the Repulsor's too expensive, and it's sort of confused as to how you use it. Okay. Hey John, minor update. After a couple of games, I've replaced my 5-man Death Company for 4 Blade Guards, but they have felt so slow and play a similar role to the Dreadline. Next game, I will replace the Blade Guard, Infernal Pistol, Storm Cannon, and 1 Hunter Killer for Vanguard Vets. Okay, and this first list we're going to look at is a Patrol Detachment that's going to be 8 CP, so it's going to have spent a couple, and it's 1,000 points. Let's have a look then. So we start with an extra relic, and a Vindicator Assassin with the blind grenades, the pistol, and the rifle. So, yeah, good morning, Benjamin. I think snipers are okay right now. I guess the great thing about the assassins are you can change the assassin for 2 CP at the start of the battle if you feel like the assassin you've picked isn't going to be the greatest. So, the Vindicator is okay. I actually wonder how he actually compares to the Phobos Captain, but he does have some other interesting abilities and rules, so I guess we might see more Vindicators as well with this Warhammer Plus thing. But anyway, yeah, Vindicator is not a bad choice. We then move on to a Librarian Dreadnought with Quickening Shield, Gift of Foresight, Wings of Sanguinius, Furioso Fist, Meltagun, and Angel's Exemplar and the Warlord. So hold on, so he's got 2 Warlord traits, does he? Gift of Foresight, and what? Iron Resolve. Okay, right. Okay, so it's... I guess... See, I like the fact that Gift of Foresight like the biggest weakness of the Librarian Dreadnought, I think, is his weapon skill of 3. So I like that Gift of Foresight helps counter that a little bit. But I don't like the fact that Gift of Foresight's, if he gets hit with a high AP weapon, I guess AP 3 or above, he doesn't get a save. But I guess you've taken Shield of Sanguinius and Chief Librarian, so potentially I guess you could cast 3 powers on himself. For 1 CP you could do that, cast Quickening, cast Shield, cast Wings. 5+ invulnerable save with a reroll is okay, I guess. 55% chance of passing. I'm not even going to read your comment, Highland Phoenix. We're just gonna have to disagree that Gift of Foresight is going to be better on my list on my character on the bike. Alright, and then we've got Primaris Chaplain on the bike, who is the Master of Sanctity for 140. He has the Litany of Faith, so that we can basically prevent against mortal wounds. Mantra of Strength to give him an extra damage and attack. He's got the Benediction of Fury, I guess, so we've got that 4 damage weapon potentially. And Hero of the Chapter for, I guess, Wise Orator? Wise Orator. Yeah, makes sense. It's really important, I think, to pick Wise Orator. If you're going to go with this chaplain, I think Wise Orator, getting your litanies off of 2s is really important. Alright, and then 1 squad of Incursors for your troop choice. Death Company Dreadnought with 2 Heavy Flamers and a pair of Blood Talons, which I think is probably the best way to run the Death Company Dreadnought. We've talked a lot about the Death Company Dreadnought in recent weeks, and I think double Heavy Flamer and double Blood Talons is probably the best way to run him. 145 points. Fills a similar role, I guess, to the Centurions that I run in my list. I think that you could switch that out for an Ironclad, and it would just be about exactly the same. I've had I've had far too many litanies fail on 3s and then nothing fails on 2s. So Mantra Strength, Wiserator is really, really clutch. Leviathan Dreadnought with 2 Twin Volkites, the Grav Flux, 2 Hunter Killers, and then the Drill and the Meltagun. Yeah, so this Leviathan is a monster. Probably the most survivable unit we can field right now is a Leviathan. I know it does cost 1 CP, but I really need to get myself hold of a Drill because I have the Claw, but right now the Drill is just much better. Yeah, I need to get myself a hold of a Drill for my Leviathan just to give me some options. The tournament I'm actually going to in September doesn't allow you to take 4-year-old models, so it's not so relevant for me right now, but I do need to get a Drill. I prefer an Ironclad, dual heavy flamers, 2 hunter kill missiles, assault launchers, chain fists. Yeah, I think when we actually compared it, I expected the Ironclad to come out on top in terms of survivability, but I think the Death Company Dreadnought will just sneak it because of that Feel No Pain. And then I guess you could buff that Feel No Pain for 1 CP if you really wanted to. And then we have the Whirlwind with the Castellan Launcher, which makes sense. You know, the Whirlwind's so core right now, it's important. Then the second detachment is the Vanguard, so I guess we got to pay 3 CP for here and we can get a bunch more elites in our list. Librarian with Might of Heroes and Psychic Fortress and a jump pack. Pretty much, I was running this guy for a while. Do I have any drill pieces left over from Centurions? I don't know if I do. I'm trying to think, because I had the sprues with all their weapons on them, but I don't think I do. Librarian with a jump pack makes sense, especially if he's doing Psychic Fortress. I ran one with Terminator Armor because he's sort of the same price and you get a combi Melta. I think both are viable. Like, maybe at the beginning of the edition, or 6 months ago when everyone was taking Null Zone, then I guess I feel like if you're going to take Null Zone, you need the Jump Pack Librarian. If you're not going to take Null Zone and you're going to play more like I play, which is Psychic Fortress and Might of Heroes to buff your own units, then I think you can go with a Librarian and a Jump Pack, or I think you could even go... Sorry, a Librarian and Terminator Armor, or I think you could even go for a Primaris Librarian and save yourself some points. Unless there's a solid reason that you think you need the Jump Pack here. I think T8 is more important right now given Melta. I think the Phobos Captain is better with Gift of Foresight. Yeah, I know you guys love the Phobos Captain with Gift of Foresight. I love my Chapter Master with Gift of Foresight, and I don't know, I can't drop it off the Chapter Master. It saves his life pretty much every game. Not sure why you wouldn't run a Jump Pack Librarian without Null Zone. Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to say, is like, if you're going to play Might of Heroes and Psychic Fortress as your powers, you maybe don't need the Jump Pack. Primaris Tech Marine, Master of the Forge, so I guess he does the larger heals, and he's just everything else. He's just stock beyond that. We also have 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, both kitted out as you would expect. Onslaughts, Macroplasmas, and Fists. Rocket pods on all of them as well, and Gatling cannons. We then have 7 Sanguinary Guard, mostly swords and a few axes, which is good. This is definitely the best way to run these guys. I would love to see an Infernal Pistol in here. I may, if this was me, I may even drop like one of these rocket pods to put an Infernal Pistol in, just because like I feel like you probably get more value out of that throughout the course of the game. But I mean, it's a small change. And then Vanguard Vets, Lightning Claw Storm Shield, Lightning Claw Storm Shield, 2 with Thunder Hammers, Relic Blade Storm Shield. I don't know, I have a bunch of Vanguard Veterans with Thunder Hammers, and I don't feel they're that strong. I feel like they're kind of overcosted. 31 points per model, they only have 2 attacks. You know, if let's say you charge in turn 1 or 2 with these guys, you get 3 attacks. If you go with the Lightning Claw, you get 4 attacks. So you get 3 attacks hitting on 50% of the time, which gives you 1.5 hits. Whereas Lightning Claw, you would get 4 attacks hitting on 60. So you would get I don't know, you get 75% more hits with the Lightning Claw. So 2 guys gives you 3 Thunderhammer hits, whereas these 2 guys give you 5 Lightning Claw hits. It's maybe okay. It's weird, right? Because right before Lightning Claws became popular, I actually did like an 11-man Vanguard veteran squad, and I made 3 with chainswords, 3 with power fists, 3 with thunderhammers, 1 with a relic blade and storm shield as you've got here, and 1 with a relic blade infernal pistol. So I had a choice because I quite like throwing that infernal pistol onto the sergeant, because typically the sergeant doesn't die so early, right? And then you get to always shoot off the infernal pistol in combat. And honestly, I don't know, I just haven't found... The Thunderhammers is a strange one. On Vanguard Veteran, like... It's the lack of attacks, I think, that worries me. You know, like, if you make a charge and you fail to kill what you're going to kill, and there's definitely a chance you can do that with just 2 Thunderhammers, and the fact that you only have 3 attacks, and then when your charge bonus falls off, you only have 2 attacks, it feels generally pretty weak. I would probably be more happy... You know, like, I talk about putting an Infernal Pistol into the Sanguinary Guard. You could put a Storm Shield onto this one, which would be +5. You could pull off, like, the Thunderhammer off this guy, -12. Put an Infernal Pistol in here. Put an Infernal Pistol in here. You'd have 7 points. You'd have 2 points left over. I guess you'd just have to waste 2 points. It's not the end of the world, though. What was did your list add up to 2,000 exactly? 1024. Oh no, so you've got 1 point to play with. Alright, so you would have 3 points left over. So what could you do with 3 points? Well, so you could have... You could swap one of these Thunderhammer guys out for another Lightning Claw and Storm Shield guy, and put an Infernal Pistol in here, and then put an Infernal Pistol into your Sanguinary Guard. And a little tip that I've been doing with the Sanguinary Guard is, like, usually, I guess you don't have a healer in this list, but usually in my list, I will sometimes try and use, like, a Resurrection on a Sanguinary Guard and put them closer and resurrect the one with the Infernal Pistol. Oh, the Sergeant should have the Infernal Pistol, not the Storm Shield. Alright, cool. So we're kind of on the same page here. I think dotting some Infernal Pistols around in these units that survive is pretty good. Jump Hike Librarian is great for being able to jump around and support whoever you need, whenever you need. I mean, I guess, yeah. I'm not sure... I didn't feel like the jump pack I didn't feel like my library needed a jump pack if I was not going for null zone, I guess, because you can cast psychic powers when you advance, right? So if you have a Primaris librarian or a Terminator librarian, if you advance, you're probably going to end up like 10 inches, and you can still cast powers. I like a couple of Vanguard veterans. Thunderhammers on the Vanguard veterans, the Sergeant takes one. Yeah, I think if I was going to put a Thunderhammer on the Vanguard veterans, it would make more sense to have it on the Sergeant, because he gets the additional attack. I think you're right. The Relic Blade is good as well, though. I mean, on the Sergeant, the fact that you don't have to take the -1 to hit, I think is pretty useful on the Vanguard. What's the backlog for members lists? Members list is just 3... so, I've got members lists for the next week, Zacharias, but the week after is free. Thunderhammer with Infernal Pistol, rest with Lightning Claw, Storm Shield would be cool since you want to allocate wounds on him to last, maybe. Yeah, you're 100% right, Graham. That's why I usually recommend not having a Storm Shield on the Sergeant, because you allocate the wounds on him last for sure. Give the Primaris Tech Marine Mortis Machina Relic. I don't even know what Mortis Machina Relic is. Which book's that from? That must be the Space Marine book? What does that do, Highland? Okay, so 4 HQ, 5 because you get your assassin. or 5 characters because you get your assassin. I generally try and stay away from lists that have 5 characters in them because it makes it very easy for your opponent to just instantly pick assassinate. Like, it's a very easy choice for your opponent to pick. For secondaries, if you're potentially giving away the full 15 points on assassinate. So 5 HQ is a little bit. I'm not a fan, I guess. 3 damage weapons, I guess the Librarian has a couple. The Chaplain has one. The Dreadnought has one. This Leviathan Dreadnought has 2. So it gives us like 6 so far. This Librarian, I guess, can with his sword, 7. The Tech Marine, 8. 2 more Redemptors, 10, 12. And then a couple of Infernal Pistols, potentially. So I think you have a good amount of 3 damage or above weapons. Might of Heroes only works on one model, so if you cast it on like a squad of Vanguard veterans, it would literally just be the Sergeant that gets the +1 attack and the +1 strength. It's in +1 toughness. It's much better to use Might of Heroes on stuff like Dreadnoughts. Redemptors are a good example. Your Librarian Dreadnought would be a good example, because your Librarian Dreadnought would go up to toughness 8, right? So lots of people have made that mistake, I guess. It's an easy mistake to make, that Might of Heroes, normally Space Marine books, Master Forge, Relic Axe, Damage 3, Power Axe, Better Strength, and Mortals against vehicles. Yeah, I mean, if you're pushing the 3 Dreadnoughts together across the battlefield, actually 5 Dreadnoughts this list has. If you're pushing them all across the battlefield with Tech Marine, then potentially buffing the Tech Marine might be a good shout. It probably doesn't need it though, right? You already got like 2 Redemptor Fists and the Claw from the. Yeah, I don't think you would probably need it, Highland. If you need to, if the Dreadnoughts are all moving forward together, then there's definitely enough close combat damage from those dreads to do a lot of damage. Tech Marine already has a 2+ save as well, so. As long as the Tech Marine's within 3 inches of the vehicle or of the Dreadnoughts and is not the closest target, I think clever positioning of the Tech Marine can probably keep him alive as well. So just one troop unit, so I guess like a little bit we'll be scoring a little bit lower on I suppose snipers. Snipers are only going to wound them on Sniper, he's still going to get a save on 4s from the snipers, right? So, I guess maybe in turn. Yeah, I don't think Artificer Armor is going to do him any help. Maybe. You know what? Maybe Adamantium Mantle would give him more help, actually. Because you've not used that anywhere in the list. Can this Tech Marine's shoulder gun fire Quake bolts? I believe it can, right? It's just a bolter, right? Forge bolter or something? Every time the bearer shoots. Yeah, I mean it's just a bolter. I don't see why it couldn't fire Quake bolts. What is the wording on Quake bolts? Oh, Quake bolts is in the Blood Angels Codex, isn't it? Yeah, soul warding on the Tech Marine might be good as well to protect your vehicles against mortals. Quake bolts. When you give this model a relic, select 1 bolt weapon. See Codex Space Marines that model is equipped with. What is it? It just says C Codex Space Marines. That's pretty general. Like, like it doesn't say what page or anything. Just C Codex Space Marines. I guess is there a section? There's probably a section in here near Bolter Discipline actually that talks about bolt weapons or something. I've actually looked in this book before for the section on Bolter Discipline and really struggled to find it. Is there an index in this book? Bolter discipline. It's good. Anything with bolt in it. Alright, thanks. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay. So, let's think about some scoring then. Objective holding with just one troop unit has to be like 6.5. It's more about OBSEC, I guess. I mean, you've got a whirlwind there as well, but I guess the OBSEC part is pretty weak with only one OBSEC unit. Your clear in this list is going to be pretty brilliant, though, I guess, right? You've got like a Redemptor times 2, and you've got a Leviathan, and you've got some hunter-killer missiles. Quite a few of them, actually, right? 2 hunter-killers on the Leviathan. Decent amount of bolters on the Sanguinary Guard. Bolter, heavy bolter on the Tech Marine, the Whirlwind. I guess this is a little bit higher than most Blood Angels lists in terms of shooting, and I think it's probably just pushed a little bit higher due to the fact that you've got 3 shooting-based dreadnoughts, right? No Inceptors or multi-meltas, but still, I guess, definitely a good amount of clear. I'm trying to think, like, if you needed to clear some screens out, Grabflux Bombard, Twin Volkites, 2 Onslaught Cannons, 2 Macroplasmas, I guess, like, probably, Stormbolters. Yeah, clear. I think anti-infantry is probably like a 9 in this list. Like, I think you can probably deal with hordes and infantry pretty effectively. Rights of War could be good to give Dread score. Yeah, do you know what? I think I wouldn't... If the enemy's going to run snipers, the enemy's going to run snipers. Certain, if the enemy's going to run snipers, is the Tech Marine really the character they're going to be trying to snipe? Because, like, who's going to... To me, I think the scarier thing is the Primaris Chaplain on the bike, right? Like, if he makes a charge, then you lose, like, a lot of stuff because he hits on 2s and he just does generally a lot of damage. I ran Rights of War before and found it was hard for enemy troops to get on points if 2 or 4 dreads in the Tech and Librarian were on it. That's very true. Good afternoon, Tony. How you doing? Yeah, I think I'd probably be okay with like, I don't think I would spend more CP trying to keep the Tech Marine alive. If the enemy want to go after the Tech Marine, it's probably okay. He still has a 2+ save. Hey Steel Rain, thanks for tuning in today. Okay, anti-vehicle / monsters. And again, it comes down to the fact that we've got 2 Macroplasmas, we've got the 7-man Sanguinary Guard, we've got those Vanguard veterans, maybe a little question mark around some of their weapon choices. We've got Leviathan Dreadnought Claw, 2 Redemptor's Claws, the Death Company, and the Librarian Dreadnought. So I think anti-monster vehicle is pretty darn strong here as well. Again, no multi-meltas and no Inceptors, but I mean, it's not a problem. The Redemptors can be a little bit swingy with those plasma guns, especially if you're fighting. If you're shooting against squads with multiple models, then you have to worry less about that. But if you're shooting against heavy armor, the Redemptor cannons, the Macroplasmas, can for sure be a bit swingy. I would choose to snipe the Tech Marine over the Chaplain. Chaplain's harder to wound and be easier to tag in melee. Okay. Hey Benjamin, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in today. If they're wasting shots on the Tech, then the Dreads are moving up with full profile and Assault Doctrine. Yeah, and I mean, the Tech Marine's going to get a 4+ save against snipers. Maybe not in turn 1, he's not. But, like, maybe you just obscure him in turn 1, right? Hey Mick. So, I don't think it's a problem. I don't think snipers are crazy. I mean, we've talked a lot on this channel about starting to include some snipers, but like I haven't I don't know many people I haven't seen many other people running lists with snipers yet. I mean, maybe it's going to happen. But I think a 4+ save against some snipers is probably fine. You know, it's usually a low amount of shots. You could CP reroll one if you really needed to. It's probably still going to take them a couple of turns to kill the Tech Marine. And I mean, if you do get sniped, then you could probably try and move into cover and just, you know, mess up the enemy's day a little bit, or make their snipers less effective. Mobility in this list is probably like a 7. We've got some jump units, and some of our librarian or our chaplain master on the bike, the librarian dreadnought. We've got a bit of mobility. It's not bad, but I guess having like 5 dreadnoughts, you're not going to be the most mobile. And then specialization. So I guess we've got like a bunch of denies here. We have the whirlwind for the fight last. We have a good number of 3 damage weapons. And I guess we have Phobos units that can be used to score objectives. We may be a little bit light on infantry models that can score things, though. And that's maybe something to consider. Like, at some point in the game, you may end up wanting to actually do an action with your Sanguinary Guard or Vanguard veterans, which isn't really ideal because these are your strongest close combat units. So maybe lose a point and a half for that. I mean, the only other way you fix that, though, is like sort of pivoting on this list and making it less dreadnought heavy. So it's not a bad list. I'd say it's a very, very killy list, right? And like, there's nothing wrong with like really killy lists. Because I ran a really killy list, and that was my list that had the most victories in a row ever, right? Like, I've never gone on an 11-game win streak against my friends before, and that was a very killy list that didn't necessarily have a lot of units that could do objectives and stuff. It was very, very elite based. But sometimes if you have that very killy list and you play it right and you do the correct moves at the correct time, then you kill the enemy and you generally just you don't have to worry so much about scoring like into the 90 points yourself, because the enemy can't score because you're killing them all over the battlefield, right? So yeah, I don't think it's competitive at the highest level, James, but I think it's like if it's just playing your friends and you're just having fun and you're wanting to win games, then I think yes, it's a good solid list, but maybe not quite competitive at the highest levels. And I don't know what your aim was. That's very true. Reziel says you could include a 30-point servitor unit because you have the Tech Marine in the list. So yeah, maybe we don't need to drop and change everything. Maybe there's a way that you can get a servitor unit into this list, and then straight away maybe that servitors can also just sit out on an objective as well. You know, it gives you one more unit, something like that. I'm not sure how you could do this. Yeah. I mean, does the librarian dreadnought need to be the chief librarian? Like, could he just be a regular librarian? That gives you 25 points. At that point, you just need to find 5 more points, and you have. Could the Death Company dreadnought have 1 Stormbolter? You don't need Tech Marine for servitors, don't you? I thought maybe. Or maybe there's a what is it then? Is it like, do you get them as a free? I gotta find the page in the book. I haven't included servitors forever. Oh, you just need to. While this unit is within 6 of a Tech Marine, the models have a better weapon and ballistic skill and leadership. That's the only thing, is it? Oh no, if your army is battle-forged, then for each Tech Marine included in the detachment, 1 servitor's unit can be included in the detachment without taking up a battlefield role slot. Ah, okay, that's what it is. So you just save in the force organization slot. Oh, thanks, Graham. Yeah, I thought there was a rule like that. I actually only own servitors with multi-meltas, and that's like they're the really old metal ones. And I cannot imagine that they would be. I cannot imagine they would be point efficient. How much does it cost to put a multi-melta onto a servitor? I actually don't know that. 15 points. Okay. So it would be 60 points to include the unit of servitors I have, which is 4 servitors, but 2 of them have multi-meltas. Multi-meltas hitting on 4s from servitors? Nah, I don't know. Whose list are we on? Yeah, we try and put whose list we're on in the top right hand corner, Caps. Yeah, I mean, they just die. They're just 1 wound models. Toughness 3, I think, on the servitors, right? Toughness 3, 1 wound, and a 4+ armor save. Yeah, so, but I mean, they're infantry, so they can perform actions. And at 30 points, and because it's 4 models, it could generally just annoy the opponents to have to clear away them. So yeah, I think it's a solid killy list. And do you know what? I think the score that I said 8.5 here for specialization is probably fine. It may actually be an 8 though, right? Because the one other thing that I don't like in your list is you've got 5 characters. Post it on the community tab. Sam, it actually says in the video description how to submit a list for the show. But if you post it in the community tab of the Blood Angels Commander YouTube channel, that's how to do it. I don't like if I come up against an enemy that has 5 characters, I almost instantly just pick Assassinate. Unless like one of the characters is Mortarion or something, and then I might think about it for a minute or 2, but then probably just pick Assassinate anyway and kill the other 4 and get 12 victory points fairly easily. I would love to find a source of like 6 cheap servitor models or conversions to use objective holders. Anyone got suggestions? I would love to know if servitors are like, where do you buy servitors? Like because the ones that I got before, the ones I had before were like I bought this Tech Marine here and got the 4 with them. So these are probably super old metal models, huh? Usually if they don't show the sprues, they're the metal ones. So you get one with a multi-melt and one with an arm. So I guess if you want, I have no idea. Maybe eBay needs to be where you need to go for servitors. Forge World have resin servitors, do they? How much are servitors? Did I not spell it right? No. What are they called on the Forge World website? I've had luck on secondaries with Stranglehold, Relentless Assault, Sword of Sanguinius, and or To the Last. Yeah, I guess To the Last would probably make a lot of sense in this list, James, because it forces the enemies to take out your dreadnoughts. What would be your units for To the Last, actually? Because one of them would be your Sanguinary Guard, right? One of them would be the Leviathan Dreadnought, and then the third one would be one of the Redemptor Dreadnoughts. I think you would get to pick one, right? I think I prefer finding 48 points for 2 company veterans with Storm Shields. Yeah, possibly Highland, but I guess if you're really pushing it, 30 points is possibly okay as well. I mean, it just depends, I guess, on a lot of different factors. And I guess if you are servitors are power level 2, what are company veterans when you have a 2-man squad of them? How many power level are they? Company veterans, they're power level 3, I guess. So yeah, I mean, I guess if you're already reserving some stuff and you just have 2 power level to play with, maybe that works as well. But okay, James, hopefully made a couple of suggestions that were useful there. And yeah, I do think, I mean, if you're not struggling to score, then that's great. But I think if you do find this list, if you do find this list is struggling with some of the secondaries that you might need, then maybe another unit of infantry that can perform actions is going to be a good thing to have here. I guess, like, you do have 5 dreadnoughts. You could probably afford to switch out one of those dreadnoughts. Like, if push came to a shove, I would probably drop the Death Company dreadnought, because it's going to be the hardest to get across the board into combat, whereas the Redemptors and the Leviathans can all still shoot. So I would probably drop the Death Company dreadnought. That gives you 140 points. You know, like, if Highland's pointing out that you can get 2 company veterans, they're 40 points. You can get 3 Blade Guard veterans for 105 points. So you could basically drop the Death Company dreadnought, add a unit of 2 company veterans and a unit of 3 Blade Guard veterans, and now you've got potentially like 3 more objective holders and or units that can perform actions. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't think it's a bad list. I think there's just maybe some yeah, like sometimes, like I said, killie lists can win games, and they can win a lot of games. My killie list won a lot of games. It was undefeated pretty much. But some of the games, like, I just won by a hair's whisker because we weren't able to successfully score a lot of points because of the lack of units that can perform actions. And performing actions is pretty important now in 9th edition. Dev says the Death Company Dread is best when you give it a drop pod. And I think, yeah, I mean, I don't run a Death Company Dreadnought. I do have one, but I did find that, like, if you're going to run it, you either need to be reserving it. I don't have a Death Company, or I don't have a Dreadnought drop pod, but I was reserving mine because getting it across the battlefield is the biggest challenge. So, and do you know what? Blade Guard veterans always, from my point of view or my experience, they always soak up a lot of enemy firepower, right? And then, you know, if you're just thinking about, like, leaving them in the middle of the map to score Oath of Moment, or putting them into a section to do some scramblers or something, you know, I think you can get value out of that. All right, let's move on. And yeah, if you've got any other questions or comments, please just, James, sorry, I just leave them and I'll try and answer them in chat. Okay, so I'm a new player, so this is much a shopping list as it is a list of models I own. Hopefully it's a legal list, says Jar Miniatures. Okay, well, welcome. It's nice to have new players all the time. I'm always surprised at how many new players we get. Yeah, I mean, I don't like how they're core, Mick, and I also don't like how they took 2 inches off the movement of them. I don't know why they did that. Alright, so it's a Captain of the Bike with Gift of Foresight, Angel's Artifice, Chapter Master, Infernal Pistol, and I mean, that's absolutely fine. That's a very solid captain. And this is a double patrol, okay. Then it's a Librarian with a Veil of Time in Psychic Fortress and the Jump Pack. Again, what I said in the last list is probably a little bit relevant. If you're not necessarily going to run Null Zone, then I'm not 100% sure you need the Jump Pack. Some people in the chat basically said, like, the Jump Pack's still really important because you can basically have the Librarian follow other units around and uses buffs on them. I guess that's probably true. You know, if you watch my channel, you'll notice that, like, I play all my Blood Angels really, really defensively, I think. Probably more defensively than most people. So maybe that's why I feel that way. But yeah, maybe it's probably is still valid to have the Jump Pack. Just if you have a very defensive style like me, it's maybe something where you can save points, and sometimes it's just being efficient and saving points and spending in the right place that can make the difference between like a good list and a great list. We then have the Primaris Chaplain on a bike, who is the Mantra of Strength and the Benediction of Fury, and I think that is the way to run him. I would potentially, I think, give him a hero of the chapter. I think the Primaris Chaplain on the bike, when he becomes the... I was going to say, you need to pay 25 points to become the Wise Orator. Okay. Interesting. It might be worth running something like Imperium Sword on that Chaplain on the bike. Let him reroll his charges, give him an extra +1 attack to strength. Sorry, an extra +1 attack and +1 strength. So I think the Benediction of Fury is strength 6. So with Mantra of Strength, it would be strength 7. With Imperium Sword, you would get strength 8. So you'd basically be wounding toughness 8 units on 3s with your 4 damage. Maybe we find 25 points, because I actually think Wise Orator on that Chaplain on the bike is amazing, but we need 25 points to pay the extra points to upgrade him to the Chaplain Master, and then he can become Wise Orator. So let's see if we can find 25 points throughout this list. And then we have the Selfless Healer with the icon of the angel. And like, the Selfless Healer is still very, very good, even at 155 points. So I've played 3 or 4 games now with this Selfless Healer, based on the fact, since they updated his new point cost to 155 points. I think he is still 100% worth it. I actually forgot to resurrect a model one turn last week. Fortunately, we still won the game by quite a bit, but even forgetting to res a model, which I could have resed, the Sanguinary Priest, I think, is still very, very good. I want to say as well that something about the Sanguinary Priest. Oh no, I want to say as well, I think I'm having a rematch against Andrew with his Sisters of Battle tomorrow. So if you guys want to check out Blood Angels versus Sisters of Battle, that's going to be live 7:30 tomorrow night. So about 3 hours from now tomorrow night, we should have a rematch against Andrew, and hopefully this time, because Andrew beat me. That was my first loss in 16 games or 15 games, something like that. So I don't want to let him win again. I got to crush him tomorrow. So tune in if you want to watch that. Anyway, moving on. 2 squads of infiltrators, and infiltrators are great. Like, I love infiltrators. I think they're super safe. Like, they just hold backfield objectives. They don't die. They obviously can be smokescreened, they can be transhumaned. The 12-inch denial is crazy good. I love infiltrators. I really, really just love them. They really let you hold your backfield with zero concern about it in a lot of situations. Okay. We then have 2 Sanguinary Guard, and you said the points were wrong. That's alright. What are Sanguinary Guard? 1 with Sword and Infernal Pistol, 3 with Sword and Angelus. So basically it's 7 times 32 plus 5. Alright, so yeah, these guys 7 times 32 plus 5. 229, I think these guys should be. And I like... Oh, and 1 squad has got 2 Infernal Pistols. Alright, just this first squad is wrong. Okay. Yeah, these squads are fine. I don't think you need necessarily to have 2 Infernal Pistols in a Sanguinary Guard squad. I think 1 is plenty, but I mean, I think if you want to run 2, that's probably fine as well. We then have a Redemptor with the Frag Storm, the Plasma, the Onslaught, and the Rocket Pods. Yeah, and I think this is good as well. I mean, the Frag Storm and Storm Bolters are kind of interchangeable. They're basically the same thing. Vanguard Veterans, Jump Pack, Sergeant with Thunderhammer, Infernal Pistol, 1 Thunderhammer and Storm Shield, 3 Lightning Claws and Storm Shield. So I guess this is similar to the last list we looked at. And if we were trying to save some points, potentially, here, what would we need? What did we say we needed to save? Like 25 points? Then I probably would drop this Thunderhammer and just swap out for another one with Lightning Claw, and keep the Thunderhammer on the Sergeant. So you would... you'd be able to save 9 points here. I guess the other thing you could do to save 9 points is you could drop your Rocket Pod here and the Infernal Pistol here. You're at 19 points saved at that point, so we just need to find like 6 more points. Attack bikes with multi-meltas, I mean, we talked about these a lot. They are core, 100%. Very, very strong still. Synergize with Blood Angels very well. Obviously synergize with the Priest very well. And an Invader ATV with multi-melta. So, hot topic right now. People, even after we dived into all the maths, people still do not like Invader ATVs. We'd previously rated them as a C, me, Tony, and Mark. And I think Tony and Mark still believe that they are a C. I feel like they're a B. I really don't think they're as bad as people give them credit for. It's still a multi-melta. It's got 6 assault bolter shots on it, so it can advance and still do damage. It can be transhumaned. It doesn't need to run around with anything. Can you chapter master ATVs? No, you can't, Matty, because they're not core, unfortunately. So I actually do not mind ATV. I think it's okay. I think it's a B. And then we've got a whirlwind with the Castellan launcher. So most of this makes sense. As a new player, I guess what I'd say is, and you had 4 points here anyway, 4 points left over. So we could potentially save 12 points from that Thunderhammer, swap out for a Lightning Claw, that saves us 9. Lose one of the Infernal Pistols, that saves us 14. Lose this Rocket Pods, that saves us 19. You had 4 left, so you've got 23. So now we just need to find 2 points. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any way we can find 2 points unless that would be it. You run one of your Vanguard veterans without a Lightning Claw, just run him with a Chainsword. So just a Chainsword and Storm Shield. And again, I actually think that's not bad. I sometimes run my Vanguard veterans with my current list, I believe, has one with a Chainsword and a Storm Shield. And just think of it this way, the Chainsword is a bit shitter, but it also gives you one cheap model, so the first model that dies in the squad is the cheap Chainsword model, right? You're going to lose a model pretty early on anyway, so why not lose the cheap Chainsword one? So that's why, if this was my list, I would do that, and then get this Primaris Chaplain of the Bite to take Wise Orator. You then get to cast 2 litanies every turn, which can be great because you can cast Mantra of Strength and Litany of Hate now on 2s, so you can get your bubble of re-rolling hits in melee. Or you can also take something else, like I like Litany of Faith because that gives you a bubble of protection against mortal wounds. It can be situational, but I think it's good against some armies like Necron Catans, like Thousand Sons and Grey Knights, Death Guard if they're spitting out mortal wounds. But I guess some people like Canticle of Hate, because you can use that to get bonus range on your charge rolls. But yeah, I think the Wise Orator is so good on this guy. He's generally pretty survivable. 2 litanies just gives him a lot, makes him much more of a force multiplier, right? I could be persuaded to upgrade Invader ATVs to B. It wouldn't be a hill I'd be prepared to die on. My reason for denoting them as a C still stands, though. And I have had a long debate with Tony about the reasons that it was a C for him. And yeah, I don't know. When I did the math this week, the Invader ATV point for point over 100 points does the exact same damage as the Land Speeder. Yes, it's a little bit weaker against some firepower, but it is stronger against some other firepower. It is Primaris, which gives it obviously access to some Primaris stratagems, and it does have 4 attacks. So if you had to charge something with the Invader ATV, or even if you had a couple of Invader ATVs, you'd get a decent amount of attacks, like 12 attacks out of 2 of them. It's actually, that's probably the thing that I'm most attracted to. The fact that the Invader ATV could charge and do some damage, and also that it can turbo boost and fire, right? Because attack bikes can't turbo boost and fire. So the Invader ATV, sure, it can't fire its multi-melta when it turbo boosts, but it gets to shoot its 6 bolt shots when it turbo boosts. And sometimes you need your bikes to advance, they're not in a good position, so it doesn't happen in every game, but it's definitely happened to me sometimes. So yeah, being able to advance and shoot something is nice. Chris says, I'm only starting playing, but I run 3 ATV Meltas with 2 Outriders, Sangor Priest, and a Chaplain bike, and it does work. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so this is as a new player, this is a pretty strong list, I guess, right? Like, I guess you've watched a lot of the tactics videos we've done. You've got a lot of good choices in here. Sanguinary Guard 2 times, Vanguard Veteran 1 times, Redemptor, Attack Bikes, Whirlwind. We'll leave ATVs up in the air. People can't decide. Well, we can't agree, right? I think it's okay to have the Invader ATV. You might be better here having a Land Speeder based on what everybody else is saying, but I think this is okay. And then Chaplain on the bike, the Priest, the Librarian, and the Captain on the bike. One thing that I think is wrong here, actually, in looking at this... Oh, no, sorry, he is a Chapter Master, okay. I think if you make the Primaris Chaplain on the bike the Wise Orator, then you start with what? You've spent 6 CP, so you start with 6. I think that's okay. You know, sometimes I like to upgrade my Chapter Master to make him even more survivable with Mantle, with Adamantium Mantle and Angel's Exemplar. It would mean starting with 5 CP. You could do that, but I don't know if you have to. I mean, I guess if you find this guy is just not survivable enough for you, you could make some changes. Okay. Alright. I'll leave it up to Jar Miniatures to decide if he wants to put an ATV in his list or not, rather than us dictate it to him. Okay, but overall for a new players list, I think it's pretty decent, right? I don't think anyone would argue that this is a very decent list for a new player. Alright, so 2 squads of infiltrators. I think your OBSEC is about 7.5. It might even be an 8, actually, because you've got the Whirlwind there as well. You can probably use the infiltrators to help screen against the Whirlwind, so you've probably got like an 8 for OBSEC. So this is a very solid start. Anti-infantry Horde, maybe a little bit weaker, but I mean, I guess you've got 18 bolter shots here. You have, I think you've got, what is it? 2 7-man squads of Sanguinary Guard, so 28 Angelus bolter shots. Do you know what? That's not bad at all, actually. The Redemptor Dreadnought, but that's about it. I guess the Whirlwind, maybe. So anti-horde infantry clear is maybe like an 8. Anti-monster is where it gets interesting, right? So, and I guess we can count 3 damage weapons while we're here. We've got, I guess, 4 multi-meltas plus 3 infernal pistols, so that's 7, plus the macroplasma and the fist, that's 8. A Thunderhammer infernal pistol, that's like 10. The Benediction of Fury and another Thunder pistol and a Thunderhammer, that's like 13. Force Sword is like 14, so like 14 or 15, I think, 3 damage weapons in this list. So that's pretty good. And also, you know, in terms of killing enemy monsters or armor, you've got quite a lot of Sanguinary Guard, which can do a good amount of job with that. You've got quite a lot of attack bikes that can be buffed with like the Chapter Master. We can keep things alive with the Priest. I generally like this I think this is very strong. I think it's like a 9.5 in terms of killing monsters and vehicles. I think one of the things to say is maybe like the Sanguinary Guard paired with your Warlord based on positioning is probably really important. But if you do the positioning right and you make those right charges and you know, you potentially keep your Librarian around for the Psychic Fortress and the Priest around for like heals and the Feel No Pains. Yeah, I mean, I'm liking this list a lot. And then mobility wise, the only things that are not really mobile are your infiltrators, which can be if you need them to guerrilla tactics. You also have the 2 squads of infiltrators for doing actions, which is nice, especially with guerrilla tactics again. The Redemptor and the Whirlwind, which really doesn't need to be. Heard Dante got a lot weaker in 9th, but I haven't heard anything about the Sanguinary Guard. Gavin, I mean, but Sanguinor. I think both I think most of our special characters right now, Gavin, struggle a little bit because they're all toughness 4. And there's a lot of Melta. Like, there's a lot of Melta in the meta. So people are reserving Meltas, people are piling them out of transports and all sorts. Like, it's very easy for you to lose your special characters now because there's so much Melta. So I generally like characters that have toughness 5 or above. I've been finding good value in them, but it's not always easy to do that. I would like to, regardless, I think I would like to see a refresh for all the Blood Angel special characters. I don't think they really, I don't think they barely changed anything, right? Like, I feel like they could have refreshed all their rules with the 9th edition, and they barely touched them. Dave Pikey says it's coming home. Oh, good luck in the football later, Dave. I think that's 8 o'clock, is it? Okay, mobility then I think is like a 8.5 maybe. Maybe it's even a 9. Maybe it's a 9. I think maybe mobility is actually a 9 here. I think infiltrators don't need to be mobile, and they can. It's the only thing that's not mobile that potentially needs to be mobile, I think, is the Redemptor. So I think it's a 9. And then 3 damage weapons was good. Psychic, we have 1 deny, which is okay. It's not amazing, but we still have that 1 deny. Scoring, we can score points because we have 2 squads of infiltrators. That's I guess the Vanguard veterans, if they're going to deep strike, a little point of note, Jar Miniatures, I like deep striking in the Vanguard veterans, and sometimes not always going after kills, sometimes just going for like a secondary, like the turn they come in, drop them into cover in a board quadrant, perform an action, and then get to fighting. We're more killy in turn 3 anyway, right? Because of Savage Echoes. So that's something to consider. So specialization, I think the specialization on this list is probably like a 9. We haven't overloaded, we don't have 4 characters, we're starting with 6 CP. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to say it's a 9. I'm going to say this is a really crazy strong list, actually, for a new player. I think that the one point of contention people are going to debate is your Invader ATVs. Biker units can deploy teleport homers. Yeah, I mean, but teleport homers isn't a very competitive secondary, I don't think. The main issue with main characters is they're not efficient. They have lots of rules and powers, and they cost points for them all, but you're not going to be able to use everything they do. That's probably true. And then there's other mismatches, right? Corbolo is like the one that always stands out to me. It's like, he's our healer, he's our main healer, and he doesn't have a jump pack, and every other unit in our army has a jump pack. So why the hell does our main healer not get a jump pack? Like, it's stupid. Is Blade Guard veterans still an okay sub for Vanguard veterans? Blade Guard veterans are good. I think they're a different role for Vanguard veterans. I use Vanguard veterans to harass enemy infantry in backfield because lightning claws on them are very, very good right now. Blade Guard veterans are much more like survivable unit that can maybe hold the center of the board with transhuman or something like that. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be the list to beat this week, Jar Miniatures. This is a fun list. And I guess you said some of it was a shopping list as much as it is your actual list. But, I mean, if you were going to build towards your first Blood Angels list, and this is going to be it, then I think you're in a very, very good starting spot. I really would make those changes to get the Wiserator that I mentioned. The amount of times you'll fail Mantra of Strength on a 3+ versus how many times you'll fail it on the 2+ with Wiserator is so disproportional. It's crazy, right? On a 3+ litanies, I can almost cast a litany every turn and not have it go off once during the entire game. And you can't CP reroll litanies anymore. But yeah, I think this is a very good, very strong first list. And I'd probably make those changes. And yeah, I'd probably take it from there. Like, I don't think there's much else to say. If your captain dies too often, you can play Angel's Exemplar on him. to get like one other special issue war gear via, what's the rule again? It's Artisan of War. So consider that if you need to. I mean, that's how I run my captain, and I think he's generally amazing, especially teamed with that priest who can throw 3 wounds on him every turn. So like running him like that, I get a lot of value being able to angel sacrifice with him and then heal him up the following turn. But yeah, it's a great list, honestly. I guess you've watched a lot of the videos I put on this channel because, yeah, I mean, we generally, every unit on here is generally something that I've maybe talked about and said is strong. And just maybe just a couple little tweaks here and there to make it better. Okay. I actually don't know anyone that picks teleport homers at the moment. Is Wapedia updated? Like, does it have the new secondaries on it now? Retrieve Octarius data. Oh, it does. Okay, so teleport homer, because there was an issue with teleport homer's wording before. Is this the new wording? Deploy teleport homers. One infantry or biker unit for your army can start to perform this action in the enemy move phase if it's wholly within 12 inches of your deployment zone, opponent's deployment zone. If the action is completed at the end of your next command phase. See, those ones are a nightmare where the unit has to survive the whole of the enemy's turn, but okay. Provided the unit is still wholly within 12 inches of your deployment zone, each time your army successfully completes this action, you score 2. You score 4 instead if the unit completes the action wholly within your opponent's deployment zone. I mean, if you had a unit of scout bikes or something, maybe, but like, I don't think many people are picking teleport homers. I like Mark says, I don't like the ones where you have to survive through the enemy's turn because it just gives them an easy, it just, I don't know, it makes it easy for the opponent to know what they could shoot. Scout bikers are still 30 points per model. It's still very expensive to do this, I guess. I probably wouldn't take teleport homers. There maybe is situationally a play like, like I sometimes play Brett and he plays World Eaters and World Eaters just want to run straight at you, and he's never going to have anything in his deployment zone, so sure, in that game maybe teleport homers tied with like Relentless Assault means I could just deep strike 2 units into his deployment zone and just sit them there the whole game and max Relentless Assault and max teleport homer, 30 points very easily on both. But it's so situational, I feel like, Alright, nice list, Jar Miniatures. Hopefully we give you some good suggestions. We're going to move on to Lucas's list next. Cool. I never use name characters, makes me sad when they die. I used them a lot more in previous editions. Alright, so Lucas says, hello John, this is a list I'm toying with, trying to try my hands at my first tournament. It's a 10-person tournament and fairly casual. I was curious your thoughts on the Melta ATV. Oh my god, far too many people. Melta ATVs are the hot topic today. Should I run them as individual units? Oh well, if that's what the question is. If you have the space to run them in individual units, the fact that they can't be rezzed and they can't be given buffs, yes, you should run them in individual units. I plan to move aggressors and eradicators in a blob around the apothecary. The librarian will be giving out invuns to the dreads and might have heroes to whoever needs it. Thanks, appreciate that, Tom. If you are enjoying today's stream, guys, at some point, it doesn't have to be right now, but before the stream ends, if you can smash that like button, it's very much appreciated. Okay, so 1999 points and 7 CP. And this is a battalion, right? Yep. So Captain on the Bike, Gift of Foresight, Angel of Sacrifice, Iron Resolve, Storm Shield, Thunderhammer, Warlord. I don't know. I don't know if you need the Storm Shield if you have Angel's Artifice. I mean, it gives you the 1+ save over the 2+ save, right? So basically you can ignore -1 AP. But I feel like I feel like if you're already toughness 6, which Angel's Artifice puts you to toughness 6, if you're already toughness 6, ignoring -1 AP is not going to be the hugest deal because you're not going to get wounded that often from weapons of strength 5 or less, right? That are going to likely be like -1 weapons. So like if an onslaught cannon hits you, which is a -1 weapon, you're only going to get wounded on 5s. So let's say an onslaught cannon hits you, it's 8 shots. It's only going to hit if the opponent rolls 3 pluses, so it's going to be about 5 hits. You're only going to get wounded on 5 plus, so you're only going to get wounded a couple of times. So I really think you save 5 points if you swap out the Storm Shield for an Infernal Pistol, and the Infernal Pistol gets mad value if you can basically guarantee your hit and your reroll because of Gift of Foresight. And that's one thing that I actually think if they gave Dante, like if you know how some of the other chapters have special characters that have 2 warlord traits, if they gave Dante Gift of Foresight as well, then I think his value would be he would be way more attractive. Like I would almost consider fielding him if he had Gift of Foresight, so he can re-roll the hit and the wound roll in the Infernal Pistol. Because when it's only 1 shot, you always end up either missing or you end up rolling a crappy wound roll. And this just stops that. It means you always hit and you always wound with your Infernal Pistol. Pretty much, I'd say. It's just so good. Alright, we have a Librarian, Might of Heroes, Null Zone, Psychic Fortress. He is the Chief Librarian, he is the Axe, and he is the hero of the chapter, and he's got Psychic Mastery. Does he have and a jump pack. Okay. If you can, swap the Axe out for a Sword. Sword is slightly better here, but the Axe is okay. And Psychic Mastery is nice to give him the extra +1 on all his psychic tests, especially when you can cast 3 powers for 1 CP if you want to with... I forget the name. Oh, hey Gavin, thank you so much for becoming a member. That's really appreciated. Please make sure you join Discord, Gavin, and link up your... link your Discord account to your YouTube... link your YouTube account to your Discord and you'll get into our members only room. What's the name of the one? Spiritual Might. Yeah, I don't use Spiritual Might very often. Use a stratagem in your psychic phase, select 1 Blood Angel Psychic from your army, and you can attempt to manifest 1 additional psychic power. So you could cast all 3 if you need to for 1 CP. Alright, so this Librarian's pretty good to go as well. And then this Chaplain on the bike. This one has Mantra of Strength, Canticle of Hate, Benediction of Fury, Master of Sanctity. I feel sad he hasn't picked the Wise Orator by making him the Master of Sanctity. I think the Master of Sanctity... What does Master of Sanctity do? It just lets you... This model knows 1 additional litany in your command phase, and it can recite 1 additional, right? Yeah, I feel like if you're going to go for... Master of Sanctity, you really want to try and find the Wise Orator. I think it's kind of important. 2 litanies on 3s against 2 litanies on 2s. Yeah, it's just a 16% chance better on each litany. I think it's well worth it. It just means that Mantra of Strength or Canticle of Hate will go off when you need them to go off, as opposed to failing when you need them to go off. Alright, we then look into Assault Intercessors, and we have 3 squads of 5 guys here, and just standard Assault Intercessors as they come. I have Assault Intercessors. I have 2 squads, and Mark agrees that the Wise Orators is insanely good. I have 2 squads of Assault Intercessors, and I don't mind them. I feel like sometimes these guys can be wasted a little bit in that if you're ever holding backfield objectives with them, then they're sitting there with pistols and they're not able to shoot anything. But, in terms of, they are 95 points, they are the cheapest Primaris bodies I think you can get on the tabletop. So, or they're the cheapest Primaris Marines you can get, and they're like 19 points a Marine, 2 wounds, they have a good number of attacks. They can fight twice if you need them to. It's something worth noting. If you ever play some games and you find them just sitting on objectives doing nothing, then maybe you could switch these out for something different. It's only 5 points more to get regular intercessors with auto bolt rifles and get a bunch of shots at longer range, or maybe a troop, a unit of incursors or something that can ping around the map with guerrilla tactics and perform actions for you, which is kind of important as well. And then these guys don't always hold backfield as well as like a squad of infiltrators. I really love the infiltrators. I think a lot of us talk about infiltrators in the S tier just because they are the safest way to hold backfield objectives. So 3 squads of assault intercessors is okay. It's not amazing. I'd probably try and find some points to at least make one of these guys incursors or infiltrators. We then have aggressors with flamestorms, and I think aggressors with flamestorms are probably the best way to run aggressors right now. We also have a Primaris Apothecary who is the selfless healer. Okay, don't often see that, but sure. 2 Redemptors, Rocket Pods, Heavy Onslaughts, and the Onslaught. And the Heavy Onslaught here is the wrong choice, Lucas. These should be the Macro Plasma Guns. And I have pretty valid reasoning for this, in that you look at these Heavy Onslaughts and you think, like, hey, they'll be really good at clearing enemy screens, right? Well, if the enemy has like a lot of chaff units, the plasma guns are going to clear those screens really well as well, because they're probably going to get their max number of shots from the blast. And when they do actually hit, the plasmas are going to be strength 8 and 2 damage and -4, so like nothing's getting a save against it. So basically, like, in most situations, the plasmas are just going to be more versatile here. And yes, sometimes the plasmas, your number of shots can suck, but for the most part, I'm thinking you'll get more value out of the plasmas if you play a wide range of different opponents. You know, like, I play Sisters of Battle, and they're coming at me with a bunch of rhinos full with really nasty models, and if you can't open those rhinos up, then you're getting charged by all those nasty models. So if this... I'm noticing down here that you've got a bunch of melt rifles. If these were plasma cannons as well, then you're punching through like multiple rhinos potentially. Whereas like heavy onslaught cannons, 12 shots hitting on 3s means 8 hits. You're only going to wound rhinos on 5s, so you're only end up going to maybe put like 3 wounds into a rhino, and it's just going to be a 4-up save. So like a heavy onslaught cannon is going to do like 1 or 2 damage to a rhino, whereas like your macro plasma, if you shoot it on high power, is going to be like, let's go in the low average, right? The low average would be 3, but the average on a d6 for the number of shots is actually 3.5. So you're going to get 2 hits. You're going to win the rhinos on 3s, and then the rhino's not going to get a save, and each failed save is going to be 3 damage. So you go from the heavy onslaught, which costs the same as the macro, is going to do 1 damage against a rhino, and the macro is probably going to do like an average of 4 to 6 damage. So, and that's just one situation. You know, like heavy onslaught cannons are going to be useless against like plague marines, death shroud terminators, whereas like the plasmas are going to be really good against them as well. I did a bunch of comparison on this in one of my Redemptor videos, and yeah, there's a few situations with the onslaught being ahead, but it just feels like if you're going to play against a wide range of enemies, and you said this was for a tournament list, yeah, I would say that these need to be 100% the macro plasmas. Okay, then 7 Sanguinary Guard, all with swords and axes. Then 3 Invader ATVs, all as individual units, and I think that's probably... Yeah, that's true, Mark. But I think we compared it against everything, and it didn't do well. The heavy onslaught didn't do well against almost anything. It's just an assault cannon, and like no one's running assault cannons these days, or not many people are running assault cannons. Like no one's looking at assault cannons going, "Wow, we get a lot of value out of them," right? And yeah, I've got a slide. I could probably find it actually that shows that the macroplasma is the right one, or the right pick. Give me 1 second, I'll pull it up. Was it this one? It's probably one of my older videos, but I think I've got it here. Yeah, I think this might be it. So heavy onslaught cannon against like infantry, and bear in mind there is some situations here where like, yeah, so this was an older one, right? But when you were fighting like Death Guard, when they're 3+ save and they're 5+, what was the rule? Disgustingly resilient. Like your onslaught cannon would only do 1.7 against 2.3 on the plasma. Against like monsters, it does nothing basically. Against armor, it does very little as well. Against characters, which are just toughness 4, it does less as well. And then against infantry with a 3+, potentially you do 1 more wound against infantry, because obviously some of the damage is lost from the high power plasma because the damage isn't going to spill over, right? Because it's 3 damage a shot, you're going to lose some of the damage. But like, it just, to me, it seemed like for the fight, because considering they're at the same points, you've got the plasma ahead in like 4 out of the 5 situations, and the one that's behind is like marginal. So that was my thought behind saying that it's a better against a wide range of enemies. I think you get more versatility out of the plasma. And then if, like I said, if you're ever going to fight an enemy that's got big squads of guys like 11+, then you are going to get 6 shots out of the plasma. I think 6 strength 8 -4 2 damage shots is going to be better than yeah. Let me put that on the screen. So it would be like 6 times strength 8 -4 2 damage against 12 times strength 6 -1 1 damage. I think against 1 wound models, sure, I guess sometimes the heavy onslaught will be better, but if you're fighting a wide range of opponents, then I think you want the versatility of the plasma. And remember, the plasma can also be strength 9 3 damage as well, right? And you already have an onslaught cannon on both these things anyway, so arguably these things already do a little bit of what you need, right, with onslaught. So I just think the macro plasma is a much better choice. The Invader ATVs as individual models, I think here makes sense. I don't see there's any reason to combo them up. I mean, the only reason you would combo them up, I guess, is for close combat, and I think that's minor. And then Eradicators with melta rifles, and this is 4 Eradicators, right? So multi-meltas in this list are multiple 3 damage weapons. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 4, 5, 6, 7 actually. 8, 9. It would be 11 if these were macroplasmas, but it's 9 at the moment. And then the captain has the Thunderhammer. 10, 11. So 12. Yeah, 12, potentially 12 3 damage weapons. We have a couple of denies because we have the librarian. This librarian has the neural shroud. I forget what this even is. I don't think I've ever picked it. Neural shroud. What is the neural shroud? Is it in here? Increases the range of the psychic hood ability to 24 inches. Okay. I mean, it feels like a low value pick, actually. I feel like there's something you would do better than take a neural shroud. I mean, I guess you've got 2 denies, but yeah, I mean, it feels like a low value pick, I think. Okay. So some questions about the assault intercessors. I guess I don't mind the Invader ATVs, but some people think that they're a little bit less survivable than they need to be for the points cost. Some people also think Eradicators are too slow, but apparently our community thinks our community thinks that that's not a problem. A lot of people still don't like. A lot of people still pick the Eradicators. Just 1 jump pack unit here of close combat. So a little bit of question mark around that. He said that the aggressors and the eradicators were going to move around the middle of the board with the priest, and I guess that makes sense because the aggressors can flame anything that's going to charge. I would like to change out one of these assault intercessor squads for something. You know, like, we talk a lot about land speeders, I guess. Like, maybe you could put one land speeder in for one of these invader ATVs, and then that would give you the ability to get some extra points. To upgrade one of these units to, like, incursors or something. I would change out those weapons on the dreadnoughts as well. I'd have liked to see an Infernal Pistol in the Sanguinary Guard, but maybe it's not important because you've got so much other melt of fire. I don't like anyone on foot once you got a good taste of the ability to shift anywhere. I don't like anyone on foot. Once you get a good taste of the ability to shift anywhere you need to in one turn, you just can't go back. Yeah, Tom, I think you're pretty much right. I didn't find value in the assault intercessors. I really didn't. And I tried to make them work in a bunch of different games. Okay. My local meta involves a lot of hordes, tyrannies, orcs, poxwalkers, so I take the heavy onslaught. I mean, yeah, I guess it's, like I said, I think it's situationally valid, Lagmeister. But if you were at a tournament where you're going to be coming up against things like Death Guard and Sisters and all sorts of nastiness, Admech, I think you want the Macroplasmas because they're just, against a host of enemies, they're going to give you more. They're just going to give you more. I mean, yeah, so this is a battalion. So the Primaris Apothecary, I guess the idea is that the aggressors and the eradicators will get some healing from the Apothecary. Christian says you need to build your list around the assault intercessors. They get blown off in turn 1. Yeah, I found that they always died in no man's land. Plasma is so good these hordes, plus you can smack the big nasty bugs as well. Plus all of your secondary weapons will eat up the chaff. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I'm trying to say, Tom, with the Macroplasma. I mean, I've killed poxwalkers with the Macroplasma. I mean, it's basically 6 guaranteed dead models. Like, I guess the onslaught cannon can do that as well, but yeah, I don't know. I have 3 Redemptors, and I actually have 2 of them magnetized with onslaught cannons. Yeah, and I just don't run either of them ever. Heavy onslaught cannon. So I run the regular onslaught cannon, and the regular onslaught cannon can clear away a bit of hordes as well. You know, if you think about it, if you want to make your Redemptors very good against hordes, then just change out the Stormbolters for Frag Storms, right? Because Frag Storms are likely to get more shots than the Stormbolters against hordes, and then put in the Macroplasma. That's probably what I would do. Oh, and literally, as I said that, Grazcuck says the exact same thing, like put the Frag Storms on the Stormbolters. Yeah, great minds, Grazcugs. Hopefully I said your name right. Anyway, okay, let's think about scoring. So I think like a 7.5 for OBSEC is probably fair. You know, you do have 3 units of cheap 2-wound Primaris infantry. I just don't know how you get them across the battlefield effectively, and they don't hold backfield objectives super effectively either. So I think it's like a 7.5. There's no whirlwind here, so there's no ability to make the enemy fight last, and there's no extra unit or something that can sit in the backfield and hold an objective. Anti-horde enemies. So your invaders are going to give you 18 auto bolt rifle shots, basically. Your Sanguinary Guard are going to give you 14. I guess as the list stands, he has a lot of anti-horde, I guess, like with the heavy onslaughts and the onslaughts. But if he is really going anti-horde, then Frag Storms are going to be better here, I'm sure. Aggressors with the flames. So I guess horde armies. This is going to be a pretty legit list, I guess. Yeah. But against big enemy monsters, I feel like one squad of jump troops is possibly too low. I mean, I guess it's backed up with a good amount of multi-meltas. Like basically 7 multi-meltas, which is a lot, right? And we did have 13 3-damage weapons, so yeah, I think maybe like a 9 for monsters and vehicles. Maybe a little bit shy in the close combat, but overall, I still think it's a good amount of damage. Mobility-wise, I guess aggressors, eradicators, your apothecary and foot, and your assault intercessors, all these things are not mobile. I mean, the dreadnoughts aren't super mobile either, so like maybe like a 7, and then we don't have any way to make the enemy fight last. I mean, we do have we do have denies, we do have units to perform actions. We don't have a ton of mobile units around the map, so performing some of the actions might be a little bit more tricky. And then I'm not actually sure if these were attack bikes. I'm struggling to decide what actually you would use your chapter master rerolls on here. You know, like normally, like if you've got attack bikes, I think this is why attack bikes work so well with, and I think this is why I prefer them to eradicators, right? Because attack bikes will keep up with a fast chapter master. In my case, my chapter master is on a bike, but even if he's not, let's say your chapter master is with a jump pack. You know, some people like to run Dante as the chapter master. How does your eradicators don't keep up with them, so they can't get chapter master rerolls. Your redemptors can maybe keep up with them for a turn, but then afterwards, where's the chapter master rerolls going? Because chapter master rerolls are kind of lower value in the Sanguinary Guard. The chapter master just needs to be within 6 to give them the +1, and then they reroll ones anyway. So you've got no attack bikes that can benefit from them. Your assault intercessors are unlikely to be in the right place. I think just maybe specialization is like a 7 as well. I think it's just a little bit muddled. I mean, it's not bad, but I think some of the synergies could just be a little bit nicer. And I think maybe that's what chat is saying as well. Like, it seems like chat are saying that it's an interesting list, but it feels a little bit like it's maybe not quite Blood Angels, just a Space Marine list with some Blood Angels sprinkled in. I think that's maybe fair to say. Sometimes when I'm looking at all these other lists, it makes me question things about my own list. You know that, but yeah, I guess as a casual tournament, you might do okay. And I've made some suggestions on how you can make things better, I guess. But I think in the future, I think one way to make this list better is to have more things be mobile, right? You know, either because you've got 4 eradicators here, they're literally 180 points. This is the cost of 3 attack bikes. This list, I feel like, would be better if these were attack bikes. Straight away, because they can keep up with the chapter master, so that the chapter master can give them rerolls. I also feel like, yeah, I already said my other bits about the troop choices and stuff like that. So it's not a bad list, Lucas. Thanks for the submission. You know, there wouldn't be a show without the submissions. But maybe see if there's a way you can, like, I'd say some Phobos troops for sure. At least one squad of Phobos troops. They're the best. They're hands down the best troops that we can have right now. I actually don't mind your flame storm aggressors. The idea of them holding the middle with Apothecary, I'm actually fine with that. I'm kind of okay with them being with Eradicators as well, but then if you are doing that, I'm just wondering, like, what you've spent 40 points on chapter mastery rolls. Like, where are you feeling you're getting the value back from the chapter mastery rolls? Like, I sometimes use chapter mastery rolls on a Redemptor, but like, I feel like chapter mastery rolls provide more damage or more buffs on like multi-melta units, and I don't. Again, like, you know, actually, maybe the main culprit here is the 3 squads of Invader ATVs. You know, like, if we really want to talk about the things that are not super efficient here, swap out those Invader ATVs for 3 attack bikes. Have them follow your chapter master and try and stay within 3 inches of the apothecary as well. You can daisy chain them effectively, and then you also have 95 points to spend elsewhere. That's like 1 more Sanguinary Guard and an Infernal Pistol. That's like 2 of these units of Assault Intercessors can become Infiltrators. And you might even be able to throw in like a 4th Aggressor there as well or something. So hopefully that's some advice on how to make your list better. And we're going to move on to Michael's list next, and that'll be list number 4 for today. Okay. Cool. Alright, so here's my list. The idea is to start off slow and use the shooting to take out heavy targets and soften up the enemy whilst getting my combat units in position. The full boss units will be used for secondaries and move about with guerrilla tactics. You've sold me on the Whirlwind, and I've got ATVs instead of attack bikes, as that's what I own at the moment. Anti-Horde comes from the Dread Onslaughts, Sanguinary Guard Bolters, Whirlwinds, Bolters on ATVs and the obvious combat units. Anti-Tank comes from the Redemptors, ATVs and Eradicators. Ideas for improvements are swapping the 2 squads of Eradicators for 1 5-man and improving the captain to chapter master and trying to squeeze a Thunderhammer relic onto my vanguard. So it's a 2,000 point list, and it starts with a patrol detachment. A lot of people running Invader ATVs at the moment. I don't know if it's just very hard to pick up attack bikes. Like, are they just always out of stock on Games Workshop or something? Or do people just not buy them? I don't know what's up with them. I mean, they're there. Add to cart. Look like they're in stock. Okay. Captain with Infernal Pistol, Relic Blade, and a jump pack. Gift of Foresight. He's got Rites of War. He's got a Mastercrafted Weapon. I assume that would be the Relic Blade. And he has Angel's Exemplar. So I think this is one of the captains I made a little while ago, and I think he's kind of cool. Like a 3 damage Relic Blade captain with Gift of Foresight, Rites of War. And then the Sanguinary Priest upgraded to the Selfless Healer, and he's got Icon of the Angel. And I guess this was maybe submitted before the points changes, or he got confused. Attack bikes are perpetually out of stock. I mean, I guess... I see. Okay. Some people don't think the ATVs look very nice. I think some people... It's weird. Some people hate the attack bikes, and some people hate the Invader ATVs as well. Oh, shit. This is just off the screen. Cool. Okay. 2 squads of Incursors, because it's a double patrol. I was going to say he's maybe... I think he's put both. No, I think it's a patrol and a vanguard. Okay, so 2 squads of Incursors anyway. Sanguinary Guard with Infernal Pistol, Sword, 3 more swords, 4 more axes. So this is about the correct way to run the Sanguinary Guard, and then the Vanguard Veterans with Storm Shields, Lightning Claws, and then the Sergeant has the Lightning Claw and the Storm Shield. I would give the Sergeant Lightning Claw and the Infernal Pistol. That's just me. It's an easy upgrade. Then 2 squads of Eradicators, just as they are. Assault Melter Rifles. The Librarian with the 4-sword Infernal Pistol, the Jump Pack, Null Zone and Psychic Fortress. Alright, so because we have the Jump Pack, it makes sense to have Null Zone. Blade Guards, as they come, 105 points. Redemptor with Macroplasma and Onslaught, and another Redemptor with Macroplasma and Onslaught. And I like this. I think this is the best way to run the Redemptor. 2 Invader ATVs, which based on what we said earlier, it's probably best you split them apart. That way you can basically heal both of them in a single turn if you have the Selfless Healer, which you do. And then the Whirlwind. Angel Exemplar, Hero of the Chapter, Relic of the Chapter, total command points is 8. Why out of 14? Because you start... Oh, because he's including the 2 you get back? I've not had a chance to run the list yet, so I'd be interested in any tips you have. Love the channel, you've given me some ideas. Alright, thanks very much, Michael, that's appreciated. So you start with 12 CP, and then you've got a Vanguard attachment, so that's going to cost you 3, and you've got... So that gives you 9, and then you've spent a Relic, a Hero, an Angel's Exemplar, so I actually think you've 6 of 12. I don't know where 14 command points came from. Someone in chat correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's 6 of 12. Some people think ATVs do look like Mario Karts. Yes, I think someone even painted an ATV in Mario Kart colours, right? Mario Kart Invader ATV. Yeah, like this. I think this is the reason that people don't like the Invader ATV. So if you're looking for a scheme for the Invader ATV that you want to really annoy people with, then yeah, I guess paint them like that, and people will... I don't know what's going to annoy people more, the fact that you painted them like Mario Karts, or the fact that you were killing them with Mario Karts. I think probably the Mario Kart... You know, I said this week that I fancy getting Invader ATV. Maybe we'll paint it like this. That would really annoy someone, I'm sure, if you killed them with it. Okay. Greetings, Doctor. How many lists did you miss? We're on list number 4 today, so you've missed a few if you're just tuning in now. Okay, so Captain, Priest, 2 Incursors, Sanguiguard Vanguard Veterans, 2 Eradicators, Librarian, Blade Guard, I guess potentially to hold the middle, 2 Redemptors, 2 Invader ATVs, and a Whirlwind. So, do you know what? This is pretty similar to the list that I was running before. Only I was running Attack Bikes, 2 Redemptors, Veterans, and then I think I was running Centurions and a 4th HQ. But yeah, this is not so bad. Optimizations that I would do in this list are minor, I guess. Like, I really would just probably put an Infernal Pistol onto the Vanguard Veteran Sergeant, and then I don't really like Eradicators, I guess. Like, I prefer Attack Bikes to Invader ATVs, yes, because they're core, and then I don't like Eradicators based on their speed. Like, for me, they're too slow. But I don't think that means that they're necessarily a bad thing. I think we still place Eradicators in the B tier. They can still be useful, and point for point, they can still do damage. I mean, how do you know if you look at the list that you've submitted? I mean, if you've already submitted a list, Caps Boy, tell me when you submitted it roughly, and I can tell you which week we're gonna be looking at your list in. But we just look at lists every Sunday, and we always post all the lists that we look at in the video descriptions, so you can check the descriptions down below. Okay, let's start scoring, and then we'll talk about what else we like and dislike with this list. I like the fact that we start with 2 squads of Incursors, and he also has a Whirlwind. So I think that's the other list we looked at earlier was like an 8 with 2 squads of Infiltrators and a Whirlwind. 2 squads of Incursors and Whirlwind is arguably maybe a tiny bit smaller. I mean, does that mean Jar Miniatures should get pushed up to 8.5? I think we can rate both of these as an 8. Anti-Horde. For Anti-Horde, we've got the Onslaught Cannons and the Macros. I guess we do have 12 Bolter shots coming out in the Invaders. We do have like 14 Bolter shots coming out of the Sanguinary Guard. Beyond that, there's not so much other firepower, but I mean, it's a decent amount of firepower. I think it's like an 8.5 maybe. Maybe it's a 9, but yeah, I think an 8.5 is probably fair. I mean, Incursors can do a bit of shooting, but it's not really the strongest suit. How many 3 damage weapons have we got? We've got 2 multi-meltas here. We've got so it gives us 2, 4, 6, 7 on this Infernal Pistol. 6 more Eradicators gives us 13. 3 damage on the Sergeant or the Captain times 2, and then Sanguinary Priest. So it's about 16 3 damage weapons, so that's good. We also have 1 deny, which I guess is okay. We have multiple units that can perform actions here, I guess, with Incursors, and I guess the Eradicators can perform actions as well. And I guess, yeah, a decent amount of ranged firepower, and then a pretty strong close combat stuff as well. You also mentioned something about he was thinking of swapping the 2 squads of Eradicators for 1 5-man squad and improving the Captain to Chapter Master. I would do that if you can change these Invader ATVs into attack bikes, but if you cannot change them into attack bikes, then I probably wouldn't do that, unless you're willing to have your Captain hang back and babysit the Eradicators for a couple of turns to give them all Chapter Master rerolls. And that's... that's up to you. It can be hard. More ATVs, says Mick. Yeah, it's the day of ATVs. What did you say? No, John. No, I missed that. Oh no! Don't paint them that way. I'm with you. Okay. So anti-monster infantry, maybe like I mean, you do have a very good number of Eradicators. Maybe it's 9, and the Vanguard Veterans, and the Sanguinary Guard. I think it's 9. Mobility-wise, it's just probably Eradicators that aren't really mobile, right? Which is maybe not a problem, but they are going to be dishing out most of your strongest firepower. So maybe like an 8 for mobility. Yeah, like an 8. I mean, the Blade Guard Veteran aren't mobile, but you can likely hold the middle with them or something like that. I would not swap out 1 unit of 5 Eradicators. That's lots of potentially wasted overkill. Yeah, that's a very good point, Mark, in that the Eradicators struggle to split fire. So, yeah, I think if you're going to run the Eradicators, you want them as 2 squads. So I don't think you can get Chapter Master in here. Yeah, I think if you want to do that, you would have to just change like a few different things around. I mean, you could build a bigger Vanguard Veteran squad, you could build a bigger Sanguinary Guard, I guess. And I think some of these points, I think some of this was before the new points, actually. So you may actually need to drop one of these squads of Eradicators just to get the points you need to take your Selfless Healer and your Sanguinary Guard, because I think they went up. I think the Sanguinary Guard is going to have gone up 16 points. And I think this has gone up 20 points. So... yeah, maybe you're going to have to like drop this Eradicator and replace it with like a 3rd ATV. So, yeah. Specialization. It's got a good balance. It's got the Whirlwind as well. It's got a Deny. It's got a few different units that can perform actions. It's got Guerrilla Tactics units. It's got Vanguard Veterans. I think specialization is absolutely fine here. I'm tempted to go like 8.5 here. Put it in as like a 42. I think it is a well-rounded list. I think the one thing that people will the one thing that people will not like is Invader ATVs. Like chat won't like Invader ATVs. And I guess maybe some of chat won't like the speed of Eradicators. But I mean, we did do a poll just this week on Eradicators and stuff like that, and apparently it's dead neck and neck here on this poll. Like, Eradicators via attack bikes, people do like Eradicators a lot, apparently. And what's funny is Landspeeder's coming in last, actually. Like, we rated Landspeeders as A, we rated Invaders ATV as C's, attack bikes as S, and Eradicators as B's. So apparently at the moment, the the units that are the units that are bad and crap are better than units that are awesome and super or sanguineous was what people said that S tier should stand for. So who knows? I don't know if that means people just didn't watch my video or people watched my video and really didn't agree with it, you know. But there's been a lot of votes on this, 455 votes. Invader ATV should never have been rated C. I think chat is generally going to disagree with you, David. I thought that we were maybe a little bit harsh on them, putting them as C, but like a lot of people don't like them. And it's not just for their looks, it's for the fact that they aren't core, which I think is a big issue, maybe. And then the toughness 5, people don't like that either. Especially against the land speeders on the T6. And then the land speeders have synergy with other things as well. Alright, so I think 42 is a pretty decent score, Michael. It's a well thought out list. You might have to make some changes due to the new points cost. You know what, we all have had to make some changes due to the new points cost, but I think you can do some good work with this list. I like it. 42 out of 50 is a very respectable score, so yeah, good job on that. They desperately need reroll, says Tom. Okay, and then Matty B is last today, and the reason we did Matty after Michael, even though Matty should have been ahead because he's alphabetically ahead of Michael. He said he might not be here, and I noticed he was in a chat. Is there a rating below D? No, there is not a rating below D. D is basically what did we say? Dumpster. I mean, you can be far down the dumpster, but you cannot be below the dumpster. Alright, cool. So we're going to move into Matty B's list. I love land speeders too. Yeah, do you know what? I have some land speeders. I need to make them. And I just don't have enough experience playing land speeders. And obviously I have no experience playing Invader ATVs. But, okay. Here we go then. No, I've reopened Michael's list because I'm an idiot. Matty's. So what is the best bike? Right now it's attack bikes. 100% is attack bikes with multi-meltas. They're the most... They synergize best with the Blood Angels, I think, in terms of like their speed and their damage output is very good, and you can also resurrect them, which is very strong as well. Alright, so Matty B says, afternoon all, list is 3-0 in a club tournament heading into the semi-finals versus NIDS monster spam this week. Characters are mainly force multipliers. Suppressors can often get an angle or hidden threats by going high and wide. Blade Guardian Ed middle for Oath. One Sanguinary Guard squad can deep strike turn 2 and relentless backfield clearing. If need be, Priest can advance or redeploy over to help them and charge. Sanguinary Guard will be charging to Axis Sword Mix or changing to Axis Sword Mix next generation. I think Bia would have been fair. Not saying they're the best out there by any means, says David. They actually work well with their chapter tactics, as mentioned above. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think high C, low B is probably where I place Invader ATVs. But I mean, it's subjective on what you value, right? Like in my meta right now, a lot of people run multi-meltas. Or Andrew is probably my main opponent. In every single list of Andrews, he just squeezes in as many bloody multi-meltas as he can. I think I played against a list of Andrews where every turn he had 48 multi-melta shots. So Invader ATVs survive better against multi-meltas than land speeders. So as my opponent is absolutely stacking his list with multi-meltas, then to me, Invader ATVs have more value. But to someone else who isn't fighting that, then obviously the toughness 6 land speeders maybe have more value. So it is what it is, I guess. Everyone's meta is going to be different, so everybody's going to feel different strengths and weaknesses, right? Okay, so submitting a list for review, and it's a dual patrol, 1998 points. And we start with the Chief Apothecary, who is a selfless healer and icon of the angel. We all know what that is. We have a Chapter Master with a jump pack, and he has the chain sword and the Master-crafted bolt gun. Strange just to leave a Chapter Master with default weapon choice. We don't see that often, but Fair enough. You said you wanted to run them as full force multipliers, so that's fine. And then lieutenant with jump pack and a chainsword and mastercrafted bolt gun as well. Is that the default loadout for a lieutenant? Because I literally stopped running lieutenants a little while ago. I ran the lieutenant out of the Indomitus box for a little while, but I haven't run one in a while. So it's just lieutenant, Space Marine lieutenant. Alright, so yeah, he's just got a mastercrafted bolt gun and a jump pack. Okay. And then Chief Librarian with jump pack, hero of the chapter to get Psychic Mastery, Veil of Time, Might of Heroes, and Psychic Fortress. Okay, makes sense. And then 2 infiltrator squads, which is very safe troop choices. We've talked about them a lot. That's fine. 7 Sanguinary Guard with swords, 1 Infernal Pistol, 7 Sanguinary Guard with swords, no Infernal Pistol. And you said that you were going to change out some for, what did you say? Swords and axes or something? Yeah. Swords is fine. Swords arguably do the most damage, just if you're playing against a wide range of opponents, against Custodes and Death Guard, I think. And it's maybe just those 2. Do you know what? Sisters of Battle potentially as well? Because I think with Sisters... No, maybe it's just Custodes and Death Guard. The axes sometimes are better because you'll wound them on 2s. I was going to say Sisters of Battle, you'll be double their strength, but I don't think it matters. I think it's only going to matter if you don't win in the first round of combat against Sisters of Battle, and then you'll still wound them on 2s. 4 Blade Guard veterans with Quake Bolts on the Sergeant. 2 Suppressor Squads. So, Suppressor Squads are interesting, I guess. I feel like we placed Suppressor Squads higher than I remember. Tier list. Where did we put Suppressor Squads? Fast Attack? No, yeah, okay, so Suppressor Squads went into B. Interesting to take 2 Suppressor Squads. I guess situationally they're good. What is my current list, Commander? Tune in tomorrow night at 7:30, Doctor, and you'll see my current list. I'll be putting up the stream after this game, and I'll put the list into the chat so you can check out the list. They wipe out Dakari Transport really well. I guess the Strength 7 -1/2 damage can be probably pretty optimal at killing Dakari, and yeah, we don't see suppressors so often, I guess. They're a weird one, right? 9 autocannon shots for 100 points actually sounds kind of okay, if you think of a whirlwind, or not a whirlwind, sorry, a predator. Costing what? A predator gets 2d3 whirlwind, 2d3 shots, and it's I want to say a predator's 130 points. I don't run predators enough. We rated them pretty badly, but predator 140 points on the predator. The Annihilator is the one with the las cannons, right? And the Destructor is the one with the autocannon. I have to check that. When I used to run it, it was just a Predator. Predator Destructor is the autocannon one. Yeah, so the autocannon one's 140 points, and it only gets 2d3 shots. Sure, each autocannon does 3 damage, but still, when you talk about 9 shots guaranteed for 100 points on the suppressors, it's not bad. We don't see many people running them, I guess, but we did highlight them as a unit that is maybe not bad and maybe underlooked, undervalued. And then Eradicators with the heavy melter rifles. I tried this. I did not like it at all. The 5-inch move and the -1 to hit, I just felt was so limiting. I think it was mainly the 5-inch move. I think maybe the reason regular Eradicators are okay is because you can advance them and shoot. I know that you lose half their damage when they shoot, but I tried the heavy melter rifles. If the enemy comes at you, they're amazing. But if you have to go to the enemy, then I really struggled with the heavy melt rifles. Every list I run has one suppressor squad. They can sit on a back objective for cheap, move quick to grab something important, and turn off Overwatch for 100 points. That's fair enough, Tom, yeah. I mean, I probably want to paint some more suppressors soonish. You know, like I was actually painting some in a Death Company scheme, which I thought was going to be pretty cool, but because I figured they'd drop in with the Death Company, right? Turn over Overwatch. I thought that was going to be the fun part of it. Okay, I mean, great job in going 3-0 in your tournament, I guess, and then you've got the Whirlwind at the end. So long range shooting, then you've got the suppressors and the Whirlwind. Short range shooting, I guess you've got the Eradicators. You got like 500-ish points of Sanguinary Guard, the Chapter Master, the Lieutenant, the Jump. Is it just me, or does this list, like, does this feel light for 2,000 points? Am I missing something? 300 plus 125 plus 200 plus 140 plus 224 plus 229 plus 224. Okay. 155, 150, 95, 140. Okay, yeah. I don't know why I feel like it feels light. I guess it's just different to what I normally see. 2 squads of suppressors, 2 squads of heavy melter rifles, 2 infiltrator squads, and then characters very much as force multipliers. Interesting that it doesn't. Highland says you open yourself up to assassinate every game and they can't defend themselves. I mean, I guess that's probably valid. Like, the Chapter Master and Lieutenant against enemy snipers could be pretty easily dealt with, I guess. Lieutenants don't get an invulnerable save, so I mean the snipers could definitely deal with them. I wouldn't make the Chief Apothecary the Warlord. That's an extra VP to an opponent who takes Assassinate because the Sanguinary Priest is not resilient in the slightest. Yeah, and I mean, people are going to want to kill the Sanguinary Priest anyway, right? So, I guess if the Chief Librarian is casting Psychic Fortress around them, then I guess that's something to be said as well. Okay, I mean, I think it's an interesting list. If I had to change some things though, right? Like if it was my list to change, I would probably lose Lieutenant with the jump pack. I don't know if I feel there's 95 points of value in that. I might swap my Eradicators for just regular Eradicators so that I can actually move and fire them a bit more effectively. And do you know what? Maybe I would. Yeah, maybe I would even swap one of the squads of Eradicators for bikes, attack bikes, because we know that they really synergize nicely with Blood Angels. If we did, so if we change the Eradicators out, you'd get 30 points back. I mean, where could we spend 30 points? I mean, what's the deal with the Lieutenant? You just want the Lieutenant to give you... What am I trying to say? You just want the Lieutenant to give you rerolls ones? On what, like your Sanguinary Guard, or... Because I imagine the Lieutenant isn't with the Suppressors or the Eradicators, right? He's with your bubble of characters in Sanguinary Guard, right? And yeah, I mean, worst case here, I would probably throw the Teeth of Terror on the Chapter Master, right? That seems like a no-brainer, because it's not going to cost you any points. It's going to give you, it's going to give him 3 additional attacks. It's going to change it to -2 and 2 damage, which is going to be a huge increase for basically one CP, yeah. I would give him the Teeth of Terror for sure. Benjamin says Teeth of Terror, yeah. I think that would be an easy pickup on your Chapter Master to make him stronger. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you're... To me, it seems like the Chapter Master and the Lieutenant make your shooting more reliable, but they're not likely to be with your Eradicators or your Suppressors. So I don't necessarily know if I feel like... You're running 14 Sanguinary Guard, right? I normally run 8, and I don't have any way to reroll my 1s. And I don't... And Pedrog's right, like, you should have more axes on the Sanguinary Guard. He did actually say he was going to put more axes in before he sent this list, Pedrog, so... I would make your Chapter Master your Warlord. Run him with a Sanguinary Guard. If he's in within 6 of them, they hit on 2s. They reroll 1s because they're with the Chapter Master. I don't think they need to reroll 1s on their wounds as well on Lieutenant. And you would have 30 points back from these being regular melta rifles. You'd have another 95 points. You've got 125 points. I don't know what you can do with 125 points, but I feel like you can do a lot. 125 points is actually a 5-man death company, right? With just bolter and chainswords. It just gives you one other threat that enemies need to deal with. Do you need Chapter Master on the... I mean, if you're not gonna... If your captain on the jump pack is not gonna be with your shooting units, then no, I don't think you need Chapter Master on them either. That's probably a very good point, actually. Like, if you're running in a blob, then the Chapter Master almost becomes irrelevant. So what did we say? Yeah, you could do a 5-man death company with just bolter and chainswords, or if you drop Chapter Master as well, you could do like a 5-man Vanguard veteran squad with like storm shields and like some special weapons in there. Again, that gives you another way to perform actions, another way to harass the enemy backfield. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's not bad. But I don't always build my lists based on making my characters force multipliers, but I think it is a cool way to think about lists, right? And I mean, I think that's why some people really like Commander Dante still, because he is arguably a really good force multiplier due to his 9-inch reroll bubble. Chapter Master rerolls on Suppressor and Eradicators has been brutal. I mean, if it's worked, then, you know. So hold on, is the Chapter Master is hanging out with the Eradicators and the Suppressors? Is that how you've been playing the list? Other than the 2 units of Sanguinary Guard, this doesn't feel like a Blood Angels list. It just feels like a useless Chapter Master and a blank Lieutenant. Yeah. All characters with shooting at the start. Yeah. I guess there's definitely something to be said about having the characters with the shooting, but I mean, like, the Eradicators are limited. Like, if I was going to play against you with this list, I would just make sure I start my units 29 inches away from those Eradicators, so there's literally no way you can target me. So let's think about some scoring anyway. Here we go. So we start with 2 squads of infiltrators. And we've got the Whirlwind as well. So I think basically what we've scored that on today is an 8. I guess against enemy infantry units, I guess we've got a bunch of suppressors, we've got a bunch of Sanguinary Guard, and that's kind of it. I mean, I guess the Whirlwind could shoot them as well, so maybe like an 8-5. Anti-monsters, and how many 3 damage weapons have we got? We've got the Eradicators, that gives us 6. We've got the Infernal Pistol here that gives us 7. We're pretty low on 3 damage weapons, actually. We have 8, I think. Okay, so yeah, I think we're low on 3 damage weapons here. So enemy monsters / vehicles. I guess we're relying on our Sanguinary Guard to kill them, or our Eradicators. which isn't bad, but I think it's like an. I was gonna say I think it's like an 8/5, and the reason I think it's an 8/5 is because lack of 3 damage weapons. So if you're up against Death Guard in this list, then your Eradicators are the only 3 damage weapons you're really going to have, bar this one Infernal Pistol. And we've just said that the Eradicators are like kind of crazy slow, right? Like there's no other way to say it, right? They just literally move 5 and they're -1 to hit. So, and they can't split fire as well, which is the other horrible thing. Well, they can, but they lose half their shots if they split fire. Mobility wise, so we know the Eradicators are not mobile. The Blade Guard Veteran aren't super mobile, but they probably don't need to be. Kind of everything else is. So I guess, yeah, I mean, everything else has got a jump pack except the Infiltrators. So that's kind of fine. And then specialization. So I like that you've got the Whirlwind. I like you've got, like, Adonai. I don't like the number of 3 damage weapons that you have. I don't like the survivability of your characters. And I definitely don't like the heavy melter rifles. Like at 300 points, I would rather just run 5 attack bikes, honestly. Like in a squad of 3 and a squad of 2 or something, right? You've got the Sanguinary Priest. We know he teams up amazingly with attack bikes. I feel like any extra damage you're going to get from the heavy melter rifles, you're probably going to lose by not being in range for a turn, whereas you just won't get that with the attack bikes. And 5 attack bikes is 300 points. I mean, that's a question for chat, right? If you guys had to take, if you had 300 points, you had to take 5 attack bikes, or you had to take 6 heavy melter rifle Eradicators. Like, what are you guys picking? Like, would anyone actually take 5 heavy melter rifle Eradicators? Based on the poll that we did, people love the heavy melter rifle Eradicators, so I don't know. But for me, I feel like I would take those attack bikes every single day, but like the poll said it's neck and neck. And then in this list as well, Slim Hogan says attack bikes. In this list as well, the one thing to say is, like, you talked a lot about having your shooting around your chapter master and your lieutenant, so you can get all these rerolls. Caps Boy says the attack bikes as well. The attack bikes can move 14 inches and shoot, right? So they can, all these jump pack units can move forward their maximum distance. The attack bikes can be right there, hanging on to their chapter master rerolls, hanging on to the resurrections from the selfless healer and the 6+ feel no pain. Whereas your Eradicators are going to get left in the dirt, right? But I mean, yeah, you're getting 90-point victories. You've got 3 tournament games won in a row. So I mean, I'm just trying to give you some thoughts, right? And some advice based on what I think is strongest or stronger. But yeah, I think. And how many? So how many? You've got 8 CP here. Then absolutely, this chapter master for sure should be running Teeth of Terra, and maybe even this chapter master should be running Gift of Foresight. You know that? Because he is the one character that you've got that could be quite survivable, because he does have a 4+ invulnerable save. He does have 5 wounds, is it? 6 wounds? I forget what a regular captain has. 5 wounds? Yeah, 5 wounds and a 4+ invulnerable save. So he is, with Gift of Foresight and the Teeth of Terra, I mean, he could jump off and like slaughter a unit of infantry by himself, right? What has he got normally? 4 attacks, so 5 on the charge, 6 from Savage Echoes, 3 more from the Teeth of Terra. So you're talking 9 attacks, hitting on 2s, Against enemy infantry, arguably wounding on 2s. You know, toughness 4 infantry, you'd be wounding on 2s. What is the Teeth of Terra? How much plus strength is it? Is it +1 strength or is it +2? I forget. I feel like it's +2. Let me double check. Teeth of Terra. Oh, it's +1 strength. Okay, so you'd be strength 5. But yeah, against toughness 4 enemies, you would wound on 2s, right? Because of the red thirst. So hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s, and you got 9 attacks at 2 damage each, -2. So against like Space Marines, you basically make them have to take 9, on average, I guess, about 7 or 8 saves at -2. So 7 or 8 5+s, and every failed save is a dead model. Yeah, so like if the enemy has a single unit of 5 guys on a backfield objective at some point, he can jump over there and slaughter them himself. He doesn't need to, you know. I guess that comes back to who you have as your warlord, I guess, a little bit. Like, if you keep the priest as your warlord and he stays with the Sanguinary Guard, that kind of works. But I guess if he is a chapter master, you could always chapter master rerolls 1 squad of Sanguinary Guard, have them go against a super hard target, have him go off against another unit, and then have the other squad of Sanguinary Guard, or at that point, probably some of your Sanguinary Guard are dead. Have the small or the weakened squad just do a little bit of work. But no, did I give you an yeah? So let's put the final specialization then. I don't think you had enough 3 damage weapons. And I don't like your heavy melta rifle eradicators. I think it's about an 8 as well then. Yeah, more 3 damage weapons, replace the heavy melta eradicators, and maybe a little bit of optimization on these characters. Yeah, and I mean, good luck with your tournament, I guess. Like, you said you were going into the semi-final with the list, so I'm not sure if you're allowed to make changes, but if you are, I would definitely get Teeth of Terra in there. And yeah, I mean, some people love Storm Shields on our Warlords. I mean, some people like that Bolter with the 2 damage. Is the best way to up 3 damage weapons going to be bikes? Not necessarily, right? Like, 3, when I talk about 3, so I play Death Guard a lot, and if you don't have any 3 damage weapons, you struggle, because all your 2 damage weapons essentially lose 50% of their damage. So I generally say that if you have 10 weapons that can do 3 or more damage is the way to look at it, right? When I say 3 damage, I just mean 3 or more. So like, the Chapter Master with the Teeth of Terra he's going to be no use against Death Guard, right? Because all of his damage is going to be 1. Whereas if the Chapter Master, let's say, had a Thunderhammer or a Infernal Pistol, then he's got a way to do multiple damage against like tough Death Guard targets. So thinking about in my list, I guess I've got like, do you know what? I'll just bring up my list because otherwise I'm probably going to say the wrong information. But yeah, 42 out of 50 is a good score, right? Like I wouldn't be upset with 42 out of 50. I think your list has got a chance to win your tournament. I'm sure it does. It's all going to be about clever positioning, or really clever positioning on those heavy melta rifle eradicators, and I guess using your I was going to say using your force multipliers and stuff to their maximum. But yeah, no, more power to you. I really struggled with the heavy melta rifle eradicators. I ran them for like 2 games and didn't feel like they were nearly as good as attack bikes, and then went back very, very quickly to my attack bikes because that's what I was used to and the way I play, I guess. Doesn't the super short range what Infernal Pistols hurt? Not really, because if you think about it, your Sanguinary Guard are very unlikely to get wiped out in a single turn of combat, right? Which means at the start of the second turn of combat, there's always going to be one model left. If you're in combat with a Dreadnought or something, you can essentially Infernal Pistol it from point blank range and do a ton of damage. Same goes with characters. Remember, our characters are super fast as well. If you kill one unit in close combat, the next turn you're jumping 12 inches. It's very easy to jump within 12 inches and end up, within 3 inches or 6 inches from the next unit to Infernal Pistol something. And that's why I like Gift of Foresight. You get a lot of value out of the Infernal Pistols as well. I like to mastercraft the Relic Blade on my captain with Imperium Sword. I mean, that's a good choice as well, Tom. It's really unfortunate that the captain on the bike can't have a Relic Blade. I like that play as well. A Relic Blade mastercrafted to get a 3 damage one. Astreus is the best way to get D3 into the list. You mean a super heavy tank, Pedroig? So in my list, I guess, I have a captain on a bike who's an Infernal Pistol and a Thunderhammer, so that gives me 2. I have 1 Infernal Pistol in my Sanguinary Guard, that gives me 3. I have 1 Infernal Pistol in my Vanguard Veteran Squad, that gives me 4. I then have my Master Marksman in my Phobos Armor, that gives me 5. I have Centurions with Drills, which I guess gives me 8. I then have my attack bites with multi-meltas that gives me 11, I think. Am I missing anything? No, I think that's it. I mean, I guess I could. I've got a smite which could potentially do D3 damage. Actually, an Inquisitor Cotiez has that mastercrafted Nemesis Demon Hunter, which is 3 damage as well. So potentially, I have 12 plus a smite. So, you could argue that that's 13, I guess. But yeah, something like that. So it's just you. Oh, I have a Redemptor in this list. Where's that? Sorry, and then I have a Redemptor Dreadnought who's a Macroplasma. And he has the Fist that can both do 3. So yeah, I guess I've got 14 plus a smite. And yeah, I reckon I play Death Guard a lot, so that's probably why I have more than 10. But I think if you have less than 10, you maybe struggle a bit if you come up against Death Guard, just because all your damage is halved, which is huge, And then here, another good point, I've been fighting Sisters a bit, and I've been fighting that new character, Morgan Val, and she has this rule where all damage done to her is halved, but then it's rounded up. Yeah, I was trying to remember the rule. So I guess your Sanguinary Guard, for example, that do 2 damage, they just become 1, same as Duty Eternal, but Thunderhammers get half down to 1.5, and then rounded back up to 2. Centurion Fists get rounded down half to 1.5, rounded back up to 2. So again, there's another rule where if you're just mainly 2 damage weapons, you get hurt really bad, but if you're 3 damage or above, you actually get more value, right? So Morgan Val, I like killing her with Thunderhammers. I like killing her with Centurion Drills. It just makes it a little bit easier as well. But yeah, and I guess that's maybe more situational if you fight up against Death Guard a bit, but sometimes it's just worth noting. So specialization, I try and, at the moment when I'm looking at specialization, I'm basically scoring you on, do you have denies? Do you have a way to fight first or cancel the enemy's ability to fight first? Do you have 10 3 or more damage weapons? Do you have enough units to score actions? And then finally, it's kind of, and this doesn't come up very often, but is your list too one-dimensional? And I guess a good example with this would be if someone's going to run 10 squads of intercessors, because you can't do that because there's no limit on how many troops you choose. So if someone's going to run 10 squads of intercessors, I'm going to score you down on that, because I'm going to be 10 squads of intercessors is not super competitive, right? I do have Centurions, but they have Meltas on, not Flamers, still usable. I mean, they are still usable, Matt. but I kind of like keeping the Centurion's already very costly, right? 55 points per model for just like a toughness 5 4-wound model is kind of expensive. So putting the meltas on them, I think it puts them up to 65 per model, and like that's for me that's really pushing it. But I mean, if you did have a squad of Centurions with a bunch of meltas, you could definitely do a lot of 3 damage plus damage, you know. So something to be considered. Okay. Cool. Alright, thanks so much for watching, guys. And thanks for the submissions from the community. Obviously, there wouldn't be an Army List show without the community submissions. So, Jar Miniatures was still the best list for today. Do you know what? We had 2 really close lists. So, Lucas's list and Matty B's list were both really, really strong, I feel like. And both, you know, sometimes when you get up to these super high points, it's not... The difference between... Oh. Was it Michael? Have I scored this wrong? Sorry. Lucas and Michael. Brain fart. Sometimes when you get up to these 40, 42s, 43s, 44s, there's very little difference in the lists. It's just some minor scoring points, maybe here or there, that make the difference. And it might actually mean that... And again, these are all just my opinions, right? So, chat obviously has a lot of good opinions, and yeah, you're very welcome, Matt. Hopefully, good luck in your tournament, as I said. Hopefully you do well, do the Blood Angels proud. If you win the tournament, by all means, please send me your list, and I will do an individual video on it. I like doing videos on like tournament winning lists. So we could break your list down and do a video. And you know what? Your list is very different from, like, no one's running 2 squads of suppressors and a whirlwind. Like, I think that's the first time we've seen that in a list. So yeah, good luck. And Pedroig, I'm ready to review some firstborn only lists. We just don't see that many of them, honestly. Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny because I guess it's Eradicators and Inceptors. Like, Eradicators and Inceptors almost find their way into every list. Do you know what? I don't think we saw a single squad of Inceptors today, actually. Maybe the points hike for the Inceptors has lowered their pick rate a bit. But, yeah, that's the way it is. So, yeah, it's 6:30 here in the UK now. I am going to be live at 7:30, so an hour from now, tomorrow. So, basically, 25 hours from now. And we're gonna fight Sisters of Battle. So, if you want to come out... Sorry, if you want to come hang out and hopefully see me get some revenge on Sisters of Battle with the list that I was just showing you, then that's live tomorrow night. And if not, then I will have some other videos out this week. Me, Tony, and Mark have actually filmed the next tier list video, so that's likely going to come out on Friday. And I think we're planning on maybe filming another one this week as well, so there might be another one next week too. So, you know, they're still coming. And yeah, thanks for hanging out, guys. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. We'll say good luck to England in the football tonight. But I guess we'll see. And yeah, I guess that's us. So thank you so much for watching, guys. If you did enjoy today's stream or you're new here, then you know, consider subscribing. We do Blood Angels content every week. And when does the giveaway end? So I'm going to do the giveaway on the show next Sunday, Lagmeister. So basically like 1 week from now. I guess I'm not sure if everybody's watched Friday's video yet about the giveaway. So if some people haven't watched it yet, we'll just give them a little bit more time to watch it. And yeah, we'll draw the winner this time next Sunday. I'll probably do it in the middle of the show rather than at the very end. Okay, right, so I'm going to boost. Hopefully catch some of you guys tomorrow. Have a great weekend, guys. Thanks for watching, and by the blood are we made strong. Peace.